All right, so we're going to start basically from scratch. I'm sure everyone has kind of differing skill levels with Cairo and Starknet. So, some people might find this tedious, some might find this hard, but we're just going to basically start absolutely from scratch and see how far we can get into making a dApp. So, the format of this dApp. So we're going to have a Vue.js FrontEnd. And there's a lot of different libraries in JS and front-end libraries that have been created by the community. I know Vue the best, so it's just easier for me to bootstrap it with that. I know React has some really good support, but we'll just get started with Vue. And sorry for this camera. I went out and snagged it like an hour ago, and it feels like it's like right up my nose. So. Cool. So yeah, let's start off with a Vue project. We'll use the Vue CLI to bootstrap this thing. So I should already have it, but if you need it, and yeah, you should be able to code along with me if you want to. And if not, you can kind of just go back and look at the recording if you missed any steps along the way. We'll probably start to move a little faster as we get into it. So the name of our project, we're going to call this Starknet edu.github.io. I'm sure some of you know why, some of you will see it later. Vue 3, we'll go ahead and use Vue 3. And sure, we'll use npm. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to reference is a boilerplate app that I wrote. You can find it a couple different places, but one of the best is just awesome Starknet. And yeah, again, there's so many good resources here. You can basically find everything that the community has kind of gathered around to collaborate on. So I'm going to be looking for Vue, but again, yeah, so above this, there's React examples, other scaffolding. Okay, so I will be coding along with this just to get started with the Vue CLI. It gives us the hint there. It will build us with a default Webpack config that the Vue CLI spins up. It gives us a dev server, so you can see, okay, pretty stock, pretty simple. Was there a question?
Oh yeah, I was just wondering if you could increase the font size in the IDE. It's a little hard to read. Sorry.
Nope, no worries. Yeah, anything like that, feel free to ask. Is that better?
Yeah, that's good for me. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we will go. We go into Starknet and we'll go into our project. I just created a couple. It turns out I have a bunch of Starknet projects. Who would have thought? I just spun up a couple simple icons, so I'll move those from my downloads folder to source assets. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Vue, but let's take a look at the code base real quick. And again, this won't be a Vue tutorial, so we'll just quickly go over it. You got your Vue config, your README, so we'll write some notes out in here. Node modules, so this is the dependencies that Node needs. Public, this is our public assets. Not much in here, just an index HTML to spin up the Vue.js application. And then this is where a lot of the Vue meat and potatoes are. So I just copied that to the assets folder. This was that Vue, the Vue logo, and is now our cool Mandelbrot's logo. Metal. All right, so what are we going to be writing? And where the, here we go. What the F? Okay, so the thought is, hey, we have these live sessions, which, have just a handful of people that have attended. And I'm sure it's just because everybody else is in Amsterdam and they're super busy. There would have been hundreds of people on here if that wasn't the case. So I want to be able to reward the people that kind of sat through a live coding session in real time. So we're going to do an NFT project, ERC 721. I want that project to have, try to have only the members of the live stream mint. So we're going to do that by restricting it to certain blocks. So we'll say users can only mint in the 60 blocks from contract deployment. And we'll have just some God mode features for me to be able to screw around with. Like, let's say I want to have a live stream in the future, but I want to keep the NFTs in the same contract. I don't want to spin up a new contract. I just want to say, hey, let's open this mint window back up. So God mode for owner to slide mint window. And then what are we doing with this whole Vue.js thing? It is just going to be a minting interface. So we'll go through some of the primitives just that have already been built by the community, like the Argent X wallet is so good. We'll show you how to interact with that. And then the Starknet JS by OX Sean. We'll do a little bit of that, but mostly the Argent X team has already provided a pretty good wrapper around that. Yeah, so this is what we will be minting. So let's go into it. I'm going to reference the boilerplate quite a bit. So just to make sure we get it all hooked up, and I don't want this to be a watch Ben squirm with Vue session. So we'll try to get the Vue out pretty quick. Modules is where we'll keep our store is where we'll keep our state, our app state. So Vue has Vue with in tandem with Vuex. You can keep a concept of an application-wide state. It's really easy to handle things like the L2 wallet, L2 signer, L2 provider. So this is a nice place to have. This is a nice place to have a lot of your app-wide state. All right, so we can just copy and paste this from the boilerplate. And modules. For now, let's just make sure everything's wired up. So, like I said, we'll have a state that needs to be kept. For now, we'll just make it L2 active account. And we'll have it default to null. We'll have a function that lets us get that state. And I am not particularly savvy at front end. So if some of you guys are and are watching me do this and are cringing, I apologize, but that's just how it is, unfortunately. Okay, actions. So actions are things that actions we take against the state. These are things like log in, log out. Just to make sure that we're wired up, I'm just gonna, let's say hello world. Hello world. All right, and then we have mutations. Mutations are mutations of the state. If you want to look more into Vue, it's a pretty cool and model view controller scheme. It's pretty easy to spin up applications, as you'll see here. So we'll do set to active count. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hang them out. Cool. So that gives us just a little, hey, let's test the wiring. And Vue doesn't come for free, so we will install it. Vue UX. Install. And we have to do a little bit of config to set it up, but I actually think we already did that. All right, so let's go back to our template, our boilerplate. We got the wires set up. We have done the plumbing to get the state ready in main.js. No, we have not. So we will plumb it through. Here's our store. And this middleware here tells Vue we want to use the store a global state. All right, so how do we test? We're going to do a couple things. I am really, like I mentioned, terrible at UI. So I'm going to import a library called Naive UI, which is an apt name. It's a component library, so I don't have to go in and make each component, which is just awful. It's similar to Bootstrap. I'm sure a lot of you guys have used Bootstrap or Materialize. Materialize is another good front-end framework for component building. And we can do things like just call the component button, and it gives us a nice, beautiful button instead of, 2 clicks right, 2 clicks left. There's no worse time than trying to horizontally center something in HTML and CSS. My server didn't like some of that, but let's see if Webpack was just complaining while the modules were being built. Yeah, something more sinister. Can't resolve store because it's in assets. So I put this in the wrong spot. Needs to be under SRC. Let's see if that went away. Cool. All right. So we have our app.vue, and in our components, we have our hello.vue. So if we look at our little application here, Mandelbots, this is where all the junk here is. We can just get rid of that. Don't need that. This will keep this even, so there's some text here, even though we didn't get it. It's because it's injecting it through the props. Again, this is a Vue specific thing, but it's passing it here in the higher level component. So we'll say, welcome to the wonderful world of Mandelbots. Tons of exclamation marks. Cool. Okay, so we are going to test our plumbing like I've been saying for hours now. We're going to create another component here called mint button .view. And if we go into some of the naive UI documentation here, you can see that they like to split their templating up into different components. Let's look at their secondary button code. So they have a template specifically for these buttons. I will just start a template. All right, so we're going to have an end button, which is their syntax for a button, for a pretty button that I don't have to write. And in Vue, in order to call a method on a click of a button, we say this. So our stubbed out module function is called hello world. So we'll call hello world here just to make sure our plumbing's good. I'm going to copy and paste this section so we can get a moving. All right, so Vuex has a couple utility functions, map getter and map actions. Getters is the functions we saw here. So it'll get a piece of our state. Actions is here. And then you can also do mutations, which we won't do in this tutorial. So we've defined a component. We have imported the naive UI button, and we have a bunch of stuff here, which we'll use in a bit. For now, we'll just say methods map actions Stark. I think Stark was the name of the specific store. And we will hello world. All right, if everything looks good here, everything should look good here. And we'll inspect element. We do not have a button. That is because nothing is importing this component. So our hello world obviously is being shown. So we're gonna import our brand new shiny button. And we will define it in our components. And we will just put it below our message. And it does not show up. Okay, so we do not use map getters, even though we define it. So we'll use it later. We'll stub it out, and we will just keep actions. All right, this is a button. We have a button. And it prints hello world. So looks like we are all good. So new component, new store, new state carrier with Vuex. Let's take out some of the things we used to test and start breaking stuff. All right, so we know we want to connect to the wallet because we know we want the people on this live stream to be able to mint. And we know that if they connect to the wallet, we want to expose certain things that Argent X exposes. So Argent X is the most used wallet on Starknet right now. And ArgentX is a nice wrapper around Starknet.js. What better place to find it than right here? So this gives us some good ideas about what we need to import it. Some of the same functions that we just talked about. So get Starknet gives us Starknet.js, and then we can start interacting with the user's wallet if they have it installed. So this also does not come for free. So we install, and actually I was playing around earlier, and for me, the new version of get Starknet from StarkX was not working. So that's why you're going to see me import a specific version. All right, so we'll import that. And we're all sorts of broken over here, but that's okay. And where are we going? So we know we need a bunch of stuff that is actually already available to us in the boilerplate. Let's kill that. We're going to use a lot of this. So L2 active account, L2 active account signer, L2 active signer, L2 active provider. You might not need it all for what we want to build. We will need most of it. So we'll come back to the mint button in 1 sec, and we'll start building out our store. So we'll steal this. We will steal this. We will build this out in this session. We will steal this. And that is all the variable. We will steal this. Getters will steal the error state. Cool. That looks wrong. Okay, so we have the getters, we have the state, and we have the mutations that we will want done on that state. I have a linter, but for some reason, I think I need to install prettier on it. But anyway, okay, so we want to connect to the wallet. Async L2 connect wallet on 37 here. Let's start without async and see if we need it. So L2 connect wallet. We're going to commit to the state some various pieces that are going to be given to us by ArgentX. And those things are the things that we need, like the provider and the signer. So 38, 39, this all looks really similar to ArgentX's documentation. In fact, it might be line for line. So we will steal it. All right, so get Starknet, which means that we need it we already imported it into our dependencies. Now we're not using Stark itself. So we have the wallet address. Let's just print some stuff out to prove that we're doing something at all. Let's spin our server back up. Oh, that same error is going to crop up. It looks like I did not set this meeting for long enough. We're not even into the Cairo stuff, and Zoom just popped up a warning to me. So maybe right before this meeting cuts me off, I'll kind of open it up to you guys to ask if you have some time, if you want to keep digging in, if you want to dig into the Cairo stuff. But for now, I think we still have a bit of time. Okay, so to see if we're really doing anything, heat map actions instead of hello world. We will import our L2 Connect wallet. Wallet. All right, does it do? We shall see. npm run server. Let's just spin our Webpack server back up. No. I'm assuming since you guys are on this live coding session that you're also feeling the FOMO of not going to Dev Connect in Amsterdam. I am as well. There's the await we needed. All right, async await. Make sure it's an async function. More errors. We don't use commit here. All right. Have we done anything? We have. This must have cached the DApp connections. Let me go in and reset that. All right, so the wallet knows nothing about localhost 8080 now. So now it should ask me for permission. And there it goes. Yes, we do want to connect. And now it's popping that out. Cool, we're doing things. We're making changes to do things. That's always good. All right, so we have the wallet address, and we have the wallet address, and we have a state management system in Vuex. So here's where our commits will come in, and this will allow us to use it elsewhere in the app. So if Starknet is connected, we'll do something, and if not, we'll commit our error. Set L2. Okay, what will we do? We're just going to save. We're just going to save a bunch of our important pieces. So we're going to call our mutations, set L2 active account, set L2 active signer, set L2 active provider, and set L2 is connected. So now once we exit this function, this action, we don't lose all this important information, like the wallet address, the Starknet signer, and the Starknet provider. Cool. So let's make it a little prettier to see what's going on the front end. And let's provide a little bit more information to the user. So Vue has a conditional rendering system. So if same check that we just did, L2 active account, do one thing, V dash else, do another thing. And we will, if the user is not connected, we'll connect them. And if the user is connected, we'll mint. We'll mint our bot. And now we need some of these state queries like L2 connected and L2 active account, which is also why we need this line. Great. And then this gives us a Boolean for L2 is active. So right now we're saying L2 is active, please connect your wallet, which we want the inverse of. And just for nicety's sake, we'll say next, or we will say mint and give the user some information to make sure they understand who they're minting as. And then some nice little UI sugar from the naive library. One thing I love about Webpack is you can see it work as we go. Okay, you can see a little bit of the way that the Argent X wallet works, and a little bit of the behind the scenes of it here. So, and it happened actually on my first page load when the Argent X wallet had cached localhost 8080. So if I connect here, it actually doesn't spin up a modal again. It just says, hey, I know who you are. You're localhost 8080. You're in my whitelisted pages. So now I'm connected. And now the state is stored in our Vuex. So that is about as far as I want to go with the UI until we have the contracts, because we have a UI that can basically access the signer, which is the public and private Starknet key pair. So that is how the Starknet contract will identify you as you. So let's start writing some Cairo while we have some time.